Welcome to this week's video. I'm Aaron Ross, and this week we're talking about ways to expand our lens kit without spending all of our money on the brand new lenses and the name brand lenses that you might expect. Now, for a lot of us, we have budgets, right? We have limits to how much money we can spend on lenses and gear and all of the things that we want to do this hobby or profession of photography. And that means we have to look at alternatives to maybe the number one way of buying new gear and just buying the latest and newest gear. And so an obvious way to go is the used route. So for me, I recently picked up the Fuji 23mm f2. I went with KEH and found it used on their site. So that saved me a little bit of money, but I still went with the Fuji lens to fit that focal length. And for me, a little bit of background and context of what lenses and kit I currently am using. I do use Fujifilm cameras, so I'm currently shooting this on the X-T3. That is my main camera. And then I do prefer the small compact prime lenses, the Fujikron lenses, as they are referred to kind of on the internet and by others. Now I have a couple of them. I have the 16 2.8, the 35 f2, and like I said, the 23 f2 that I'm currently filming this video on. And that means there are sort of two other lenses that fit in this category, the 50 f2 and the 90 f2. Now the 90 isn't necessarily a Fujikron and a small compact. They put that in a different category on their roadmap or on their website, but that is a prime lens that I am eyeing and something that I want to add to my kit in the future, as well as that 50 f2. But that isn't going to happen right now because I just added the 23mm. But I was thinking about another way that I can add lenses to my kit and expand the universe of what I'm looking at. And then I realized I already have a 50mm f2 lens. It's just not for Fuji. I have this Nikon vintage lens. This is a, like I said, 50mm f2 lens. This is mainly used on my Nikon FM, my film camera, but this is a 50mm and it's f2, so it's the same aperture wide open that I have on most of my other prime lenses. And now I have to just figure out how to use it on the X-T3. And that's where things like this come in. This is an adapter, so I can go from Nikon F mount to Fuji X mount. And all I have to do is find the right spot to pop this in. And now on the back of there, I have a Fuji X mount. And this is going to put this at the right distance away from the sensor so that I'm getting that same 50mm focal length. Now this one in particular is from Photocy. I'll put a link down in the description in case you want to take a look at this. There's no glass in here, there's no autofocus, there's no speed boosting, so I'm still getting that crop sensor on it, so that means this 50mm is acting more like a 75mm, but that means this is relatively inexpensive. It opens me up to all of the Nikon f-mount lenses from pretty much all of history. Now, like I said, you do lose a couple of things when you adapt vintage lenses like this to a modern camera with something like the Photocy adapter. This one in particular doesn't pass any of the electronics or signals back and forth, so if you do have a lens that has autofocus, you are going to lose that. With this lens in particular, I have a manual focus ring as well as a f-stop. So I have my aperture ring right here on the lens. So this is going to perform exactly like my Fuji lenses in terms of adjusting the aperture. And then I have that manual focus ring. So really the only thing that I'm losing is the autofocus. So as long as I'm comfortable using that manual focus ring, this lens is going to work perfectly and give me an additional focal length in my prime lens kit, which I generally prefer to use prime lenses, especially when I'm out doing either travel photography or street photography. It just simplifies the process and allows me to focus on making the photos that I want to make that day. And obviously, these are so small, I can literally hold 3 lenses in one hand. So I can throw these in a bag. I use the Ona Bowery bag, and I can have the Fuji X-T3 with a lens on it and all 3 of these lenses in my bag at the same time, and it's really not a big deal to carry that around all day. And so that gives me the range of focal lengths, but allows me to at any one time be focused and be simple with the prime lens that I have on the camera. And what's great is because I now have this adapter, I can look at all of the other Nikon vintage lenses and see what I would want to adapt. They have an amazing, I think it's a 135 lens that is known as one of their best lenses that they ever made. And so I can look at that. I can wait and find out if there's a great deal on it on eBay. I can jump on it or something like that. But then I can adapt that and know that I'm getting a different look and feel than anything I'm going to get in the Fuji lineup. And that's another reason why you may want to do this. These old lenses have a different feel to them. They're not necessarily going to be the most sharp pinpoint lenses that you've ever had in your kit. Your edge sharpness, vignettes, whatever it is that you pixel peep on, you can basically throw that out the window when you're looking at vintage lenses, but there's a much more classic feel and character to some of the photos that you're going to be able to make by adapting a vintage lens with something like this. Now, they do make these for other types of mounts as well. I know that there is one that adapts Canon EF lenses to Fuji X mount and even allows you to maintain some of that autofocus. Now, I've never tested that, so I cannot vouch for that. I know Lee in Toronto, I think he did this a long time ago when he was looking at some Fuji camera stuff, but also using Canon lenses. So if I can find that, I'll link that up here for you to check out. If you are a Canon user, if you maybe have some Canon lenses hanging out that you want to adapt to your Fuji camera. But just do some research, check out Amazon or eBay or just Google it to find the adapter that is right for you and make sure that it has the right conversion. So I'm gonna go ahead and take some photos with this adapted to my Fuji X-T3, and I'm gonna leave you with a little bit of a slideshow of those photos so you can see what I was able to capture using this 50mm f2. Again, that's about a 75mm on the crop sensor of an X-T3, X-T4, any of the Fuji X mount cameras. So make sure and subscribe because I have more videos coming your way, and give this video a like, comment down below. Is this something you're even interested in? Do you think that using vintage lenses on a modern digital camera makes sense, or is this just kind of a silly endeavor that you have no interest in? Either way, I know I'm gonna go out and make some photos. I hope you do too, and we'll see you in the next one.